Now, you came to me to learn how to get faster, and I just use 4 simple rules when I train anybody to get faster, and I've been using it for over 15 plus years. The principle number 1, we'll jump right into it. Principle number 1, we're just going to talk about frequency. The frequency with which I train. So how many times a week can I train? As you can see, you should do your speed training no more than 2 to 3 times per week. And in the beginning of your training cycle, you can go every other day or 3 times per week. But 3 weeks to 4 weeks before you need to be at your best, whether that's peaking for the season or you want to test your 40, or if you got some type of combine that you have to do, you want to go 2 times per week, put in multiple days in between sprint sessions so that you can rest. The next principle that you have to be aware of is the intensity. And the intensity is how close to 100% should I sprint. Okay, and if you're reading this as I'm talking, the sprints must be 95% or above. Okay, so again, if you want to calculate your 95% or above, all you have to do is multiply your fastest time by 1.05. And as you can see, the example that I have here, you have a 40, let's say you run a 40-yard dash in 4.6 seconds. Okay, you multiply that by 1.05, it gives you 4.83. What that number tells you is if I run slower than 4.83, let's say I'm running 640s and my fifth 40, I run 4.96 or 4.95 or 4.91. What I want you to do is cut your speed training session and go home. At that point, we're no longer working on improving top speed. You're moving into another quality that we're not trying to train here. What we're trying to train specifically is our top speed. We want to improve our top speed, and the only way to do that is to make sure that we're training 95% or above. The next training principle that you need to be aware of is volume. And when we're talking about volume, all we're really talking about is the total amount of yards that you should do per session. And I would recommend no more than 500 yards per session. Now here's the caveat, or here's the big thing you need to understand. When I start off my speed training sessions, I want to start on the lower end of the 500 yards. So I want to be maybe 200, maybe 250 yards. And then every week I want to increase the volume. So before I peak, or that part of the training season where we talked about you want to run 2 times a week versus 3 times per week, I also want my volume to be around the 300 to 350 area. So in between, I can work my way up to 500, but I don't want to go over 500 at any point in my speed training session. Okay, so how do I know? Okay, so let's say you want to do a session, and I want to do, as you can see on the screen, 440s, 330s, 320s, which is a total of 310 yards. That would be something I would do in the beginning of my training session. And then each week, or even each session, you can add one more sprint, not to each one, but just one sprint total. So I could go 440s, 430s, 320s, so that would put me at 350 total yards for my session. And I want to get up to 500, but then 3 weeks before I need to peak, or three weeks before I need to test, or 3 weeks before I report to camp, I want to drop the volume down from 500 to 400, then from 400 to 300, and go into my season feeling light and fast. That's the best way to use the principle of volume in your speed training session. So the last principle of speed training that we want to talk about is probably the most important, and that's recovery. Now, as you can see, you need to read this carefully and make sure that you ingrain this into your training ritual. There's 2 parts of recovery, and the first one we want is recovery in between your sprint. Okay, and the easiest way for you to remember how much to rest in between the sprint is to rest 1 minute for every 10 yards that you sprint. As you can see, for example, I do a 50-yard sprint. You must rest 5 minutes. I know it may sound like a lot. Your body will be ready before the 5 minutes, but your nervous system won't be ready before 5 minutes, and that's the part that we're trying to rewire and change. So Yes, you may feel good at 3 minutes or 3.5, but just give yourself the extra time to be sure that you're completely rested for the next sprint. Okay, the second recovery process that we need to understand is recovery between sessions. We talked about a little bit in the frequency portion, but you want to rest between 48 to 72 hours in between your sessions. Like I said in the beginning, it's great to do every other day. So if I'm doing a 8-week speed session, for the first 3 weeks, I can go every other day. Okay, I'm fine. Your body will recover. You'll get better. The last 3 weeks or the last 4 weeks of your session, of your cycle, you want to make sure that you're going 2 times per week, putting more rest in between your session so that you're fully recovered and you know without a doubt that you're as close to 100% as possible. The thing that we need to understand about speed training is I need to feel good most of the time. I want to feel 90-95% fresh so that I can get the best out of my session. Coming to a session tired, sore, worn down, unmotivated kills speed sessions. You can get away with it in weightlifting and other things, but when it comes to training for speed, you want to make sure that you feel great. So the closer you get to your peaking time or your camp, you want to make sure that you put 2 days in between your speed training sessions, and you'll get the best bang for your buck from maximizing your rest and recovery that way. You made it this far in the video, so I want to give you another gift for taking your performance into your own hands and learning how you can improve yourself over the off season. I want to extend to you a gift, a free training template that I put together. It'll break down many of the things that you need to do in your session and give you an exact template of what you can do. And all you have to do is apply this to a 6-week cycle or 8-week cycle, and you will get faster. When you click on the link, you'll see a PDF like this, and it'll just give you an exact speed training template that I use for my athletes over the years. And as you can see, your warm-up is there. It tells you exactly how to do your warm-up, what to do, what not to do. You have your speed drills inside. You have your actual speed training session where it breaks down what you should do, how long you should do it, how many yards, the rest, examples of the session. You can see again, this is just another day of speed training that you could do, and it breaks down everything that you would need to do. It even gives you your plyometrics and your jump training to maximize and get even more benefit from your speed training session. At the bottom is just a little comparison list of high school athletes throughout the country, and it gives you a little synopsis of where you should be relative to other athletes in the country. And again, as you can see, the blue is average, the silver is good, and the black is great.
If you want to get more tips in terms of all things football, off-season training, whether it's speed, strength, size, or even positional skill work, just follow me at Coach Sean Training on Instagram.